Thank you, Professor Ubiratan. Please stay with us here on the stage. Because time flies, right? And now there's going to be a quick debate, just about 15, 20 minutes, and then there's going to be a coffee break. 15? Okay, 2 questions, that's all we have. So I'd like to invite Elio. Do you want to take part? Okay. So the dynamic subjective time we have that flies. So if you want to ask a question, there's a microphone. There's one person here. If you would like to ask a question, there's a mic going around. Or else you can submit this in writing. I think that on the microphone is more quickly. So introduce yourself and then ask your question. My name is Alfredo Peringer. I'd like to congratulate your speech, Iorio, Mr. Iorio. You have great communication skills, Mr. Iorio. And you're able to make great summaries of complex issues. Now, when you go and try to explain how explain complex issues in a few words, there's always many things that are overlooked, right? I'm more Hayekian in a sense. And I'm a little bit annoyed sometimes with some of the things you say, I admit. Now, you were saying, based on Hayek, about the evolution of the spontaneous evolution and the trials and errors, this unpredictability. You didn't talk much. There's no room to talk about science. When I'm talking about science, I'm talking about something practical, of something like Adam Smith, in which human action leads to collective action, to welfare, that your individual interest would lead to collective welfare. You kind of ignored, overlooked this. How would this happen? How would this science take place? Because praxeology is a science, right? So how do you take this to the practical level? Thank you.
Your observation is very useful. I'd like to take this off our time. I had to sum this up in a few minutes, and every time the lady would show me how much time I had left, I'd be frightened. Now she's next to me. Of course you're right. Not just Hayek. I mentioned Hayek, but the Austrians have always adopted a methodological individualism. There are no holistic elements. Brazil doesn't pick up the phone and call Italy and say, I want to import, and some lady on the other line is dressed in red and green says, hi, this is Italy. What would you like to import from Italy? This doesn't happen. When you say the dollar is devaluing in front of the real, this is bad for Brazil, the first question I have is, when someone asks me that, what's worse, buy or sell? What's better, to buy or to sell? It depends. If you're buying, if it's a voluntary action, and praxeology explains this, if he bought it for a good price, and the seller as well. But I think that 99.9% of people in Brazil and in Latin America, Argentina, and other countries think that when Brazil exports is good and when they import it's bad. Now obviously there are interests of certain interest groups involved here, different associations of importers, and people deal with the price of the currency, and that's a price. It should be free floating, it should be determined by the market. The government says it's an important variable. but there's so many important variables. If the government messes with it, it's not a real price. Mises called this a pseudo price. So within this concept, I don't see why it's so bad that our exporting grows slower than our imports grow. If Brazilian companies are doing this, it's because it's good for them. So this individualist view rejects the macroeconomics. There is no such thing as macroeconomics. You can't go to a bakery and say, I'd like to buy half a pound of GDP, please. How much does that cost? Well, the general price level is 50 cents. So you can pay 50 cents for half a pound of GDP. Economists are talking about macroeconomics, and we have to talk about it or we'll be isolated from the profession. But whenever we can, we need to throw these concepts of the Austrian School of Praxeology to show them that the world is made up of people, not of countries. The problem about me being next to you is that I can touch you. There's 3 questions here, but since we want to be dynamic here with the time, I'm just going to read one of the questions. It's not identified, but however. Professor, you mentioned that the Austrians are generalists. Mises and Rothbard were great system builders. At what stage do you see the Austrian school moving towards segmentation and specialization? I don't think so. I think that the formation of Austrian economists, they are not able to do this. If they use all the elements, all the tools that I mentioned, although someone can specialize, as Professor Kirzner did in studying entrepreneurship, other economic cycles, we have to consider all those elements, both of the nucleus and the elements, the propagating elements. An Austrian can never be super specialized in only one aspect of knowledge because it's an integrated theory. I spent 3 years studied economic cycles, but that didn't keep me for studying the market process theories, capital theories, monetary theory, the theory of entrepreneurship, and so on and so forth. The richness of the Austrian school is extraordinary. No other school has this. And so we can't restrict ourselves to economic theory. We need to be aware of the correlated areas of the economy. It seems pretentious for an Austrian economist to say that he's more cultured than other people, but he needs to seek a broader cultural sense than the more limited specifics of micro and macroeconomics. A few weeks ago, in a department meeting at my university of the state of Rio de Janeiro, a colleague defended the idea that all the courses should have a textbook. And I thought that it would be this would be approved, and I said I will not do this. I said I do not agree. Not in electives or in the core courses. We can't limit people's brains to what's in the Stiglitz textbook. I don't agree. How can I teach it? You need more academic variety. Thank you very much for your speech, Professor Ubiratan.